Good morning and welcome, everyone, officers, members of the public, and members not part of this committee. Welcome to the Strategic and Technical Planning Committee on Monday, the 18th of November 2024. For the behalf of the public attending today or watching on live stream, I'm Councillor Sari House, Chair of this committee, and my Vice Chair is Councillor Bolwell. The meeting is being live streamed and will be available to view on the Council website after the meeting. By attending this meeting, you consent to being filmed. Can I remind everyone that when you're speaking, please speak directly into the microphones so that you can be clearly heard. The Planning Committee is not a public meeting, but a meeting to which the public is invited. All attendees must comply with the ruling of the Chair. They must not interrupt the meeting or cause undue disturbance. To support this, please switch your mobile phones or select silent mode for the duration of the meeting, and those using Teams, please ensure microphones are on mute and your device volume is set to 0 to maintain audio quality. Only those who have registered to speak in accordance with the speaking protocol will be invited to address the committee for a maximum of 3 minutes. No material is to be circulated to members of the committee. We have one application to determine today. The case officer will be invited to present the report and recommendations. Next, I will invite members of the public who have registered to speak to address the committee in the following order. Public against, if there is any public support, applicant agent, town parish council, and ward members. Each speaker has 3 minutes. Our speakers today are Peter Yeo, local Shaftesbury Town Councillor, Shima Vasani, resident Shaftesbury, Anne Taylor, resident Shaftesbury, and Councillor Derek Beer, who wishes to make general comments as ward member for Shaftesbury. Following public speaking, the planning officers will have the opportunity to address any salient points they wish to clarify, and committee members will be given the opportunity to ask any technical questions of the planning officers before moving on to debate. When we go into councillor questions and debate, for the benefit of the public watching, can the members state their name and ward when addressing the meeting? And can I ask officers to identify themselves each time they speak? So, can I ask the officer making the report to introduce themselves and the team supporting them?
Thank you. Good morning, Chair. I'm Alison Curtis. I'm the Highways Development Team Leader. Next to me is the Cabinet Member for Place Services, Councillor John Andrews. Behind me we have Hannah Smith, Lead Planning Officer, Mark Gay, Highway Agreements Manager, and Kerry Dorrington, Traffic Regulation Officer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, first item of business is to agree the minutes of Thursday the 17th of October. Are members content? Councillor Northam.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, on page 6, where it talks about the members responding and questions, it quotes the local ward member highlighted the importance of looking into the permissive path option and would have liked to see the use of the route outside of the path. That's not correctly reported. What it should say, and I think is what I said, is outside of school hours, such as weekends, holidays and evenings. I'd ask that correction be made. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Northam, that's how I remember it as well. Are members content with that alteration to the minutes to sign those as a correct record of the meeting? Thank you very much. Do we have any declarations of interest? There's no declarations of interest. Thank you. Members of the public, can I ask you if you wish to make your representations before the officer's report or after?
After, please.
Thank you.
I just want to mention I do live in Manchester Lane, so obviously work at Town Council.
Thank you. Shima, are you happy to make your representation after the report? And Anne? All content. Thank you. Okay, hand over to the officer for the report.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, councillors. On the 12th of February 2007, the Secretary of State for Communities and Local Government granted planning permission on appeal for the development of land north of the A30 Salisbury Road, north and south of Manpits Lane, Shaftesbury. Apologies. At the development known as the Maltings, the permission included conditions to provide a bus route which shall include details to secure that at all times the bus route at the junction of Manpits Lane can only be used by buses, coaches, bicycles and pedestrians. This is defined in the planning permission as the vehicular restriction facilities. A 13-metre length of Manpits Road between Pound Lane and Manpits Lane is too narrow between the chestnut tree and the allotments to satisfy modern design standards in providing a primary route of access for a development of 670 dwellings. Currently, vehicular traffic travels... Would you like me to go back at all, Chair? Yes, 670 dwellings. Let me start from the beginning of that slide. A 13-metre length of Manpits Road between Pound Lane and Manpits Lane is too narrow between the chestnut tree and the allotments to satisfy modern design standards in providing a primary route of access for a development of 670 dwellings. Currently, vehicular traffic travels east and west along Manpits Lane, and the level of development traffic is not desirable along the existing narrow single-track Manpits Road. This is the location of the proposed restriction. Vehicular traffic will be restricted from travelling east and west from Manpits Lane to Manpits Road and vice versa. The left turn from Pound Lane towards Manpits Lane is also to be prohibited, with the exception of buses and cyclists. Emergency vehicles are also exempt. A footway is included on the north side of the road to accommodate pedestrians. The alternative route for vehicular traffic to travel between the development and the town will be via the A30 Salisbury Road to Royal Chase Roundabout, north along Christie's Lane to the roundabout at the junction with the northwestern end of Pound Lane. The vehicular traffic is to access the site via the two signalised junctions at the A30 Salisbury Road, which is Greenacre Way and Allen Road. Both junctions were designed to accommodate this distribution of vehicular traffic. Pedestrians, cyclists, buses and equestrian traffic is unaffected by the proposal. The statutory consultation process for TROs has been followed, with the primary consultation carried out in the summer and the public consultation carried out in the autumn. Shaftesbury Town Council resolved to offer no comment on the TRO and to request a delay to the TRO implementation until such time as the Spine Road is completed to Wincolm Lane or an alternative route provided. A copy of all of the responses received have been included as Appendix K of the committee report. The objections can be summarised into these main issues: the impact on Allen Road, the Northern Link Spine Road, an increase in speed in vehicles, the impact on climate change, an increase in journey times, and a request for a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit. Allen Road has been designed and constructed to facilitate all traffic accessing and egressing the development in accordance with current design standards and requirements. The carriageway is generally 6.7 metres in width, which is commensurate with the design standards for a local distributor road and bus route. A standard residential estate road is usually 5 to 5.5 metres wide. There are no departures from standards, including from visibility. The reported personal injury collision record for the most recent 5-year period available shows 4 collisions in the vicinity, comprised 1 serious injury and 3 slight injury collisions. All of the collisions were caused by driver error or highway user error, and none are as a direct result of the design of the road. There are no reported personal injury collisions on Allen Road. The requirement to implement a vehicle restriction facility at Mampits Lane is a condition of the planning permission granted for the development, which also considered and approved traffic flows and access and egress arrangements associated with the development. This slide shows the 2 signal-controlled junctions onto the A30 Salisbury Road. A number of the representations received make reference to the delivery of a Northern Link spine road that would potentially provide access to and egress from the north of the residential development via the existing highway at Wincolm Lane. The extent of the development comprised within this application, shown hatched red on the slide, does not extend to Wincolm Lane and therefore does not include for the provision of a Northern Link spine road. Allen Road is subject to a 30-mile-per-hour speed limit, though by its geometric design, vehicle speeds should generally be lower than this. A speed survey undertaken in October 2023 shows 85th percentile speeds on Pound Lane lower than 23 miles per hour and an average speed of 21 miles per hour. Both Mampits Lane and Allen Road recorded speeds lower than 18 miles per hour. This is similar to the data recorded during other speed surveys. Impact on climate change and increased journey times. Drivers wishing to access the A30 Christie's Lane from this residential development will be required to drive an additional 1.5 kilometres to reach the junction of Christie's Lane and Pound Lane. Sustainable modes of transport, such as walking and cycling, are unaffected by the vehicle restriction facility. This TRO does not include a reduction in posted speed limit from 30 miles an hour to 20 miles per hour. Requests for 20 miles per hour limits will need to be made to the Town Council, who will need to apply through Dorset Council's adopted 20 mile per hour policy. The responses supporting the restriction can be summarised into these main issues. Reduce speeding, reduce rat running, traffic volume, improve safety. Access to Pound Lane was never part of the development. Stop HGVs shortcutting through and improve air quality. The proposed traffic regulation order is expressly conditioned in the planning permission. This condition was, at the time of granting permission, supported by North Dorset District Council, the applicant and Shaftesbury Town Council. Allen Road and its junction with the A30 has been designed and constructed to provide safe access and egress from the development for all traffic. Sustainable methods of transport, including pedestrians, cyclists and horse riders, may continue to use the existing route via Mampits Road in both directions. As objections have been made to the TRO, and because the TRO has the effect of prohibiting the loading or unloading of certain classes of vehicles in Mampits Road, the Council is required to appoint an inspector to hold a public inquiry before determining whether to make the TRO with or without modification. This report is brought to committee for a decision as to whether the Council is minded to make the TRO with or without modification. The decision will form the basis of the Council's permission at the public inquiry. The inspector will prepare a report following the public inquiry, which sets out their recommendation. The inspector's report will be reported to the Cabinet Member for Place Services or Cabinet because the final decision is an executive decision. The reason for the recommendations are for preventing the use of the road by vehicular traffic of a kind which is unsuitable, having regard to the character of the road, to prevent the use of the road by through traffic for the purposes of road safety. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. We now move to our public speakers. The first person registered to speak is Councillor Peter Yeo from Shaftesbury Town Council. However, he is speaking today in his own capacity as resident. Peter, you'll have 3 minutes. I'll give you a heads up at 2 minutes 30 so that you've got awareness that we're near time.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm Councillor Peter Yeo, east of Shaftesbury, and I actually live in Mampits Lane near the Spa Shop for the last 8 years, and I strongly object, as do the majority of people in Shaftesbury and East Shaftesbury, to the idea of this traffic restriction where Mampits Lane joins Mampits Road. If you look back into the documents very long time ago, as mentioned today, the reason for this is because the road is narrow by the town council owned allotments and the large tree just there. And also further on, if you go towards Mampits Road, the road's very narrow by the cemetery. So things have actually worked extremely well for the last 8 years. There is no amount of speeding. The town council has done surveys on Pound Lane. The residents in Pound Lane seem to think they live on a private road. They do not. They live on a 2-lane distributor standard road, which is deemed perfectly suitable for buses to use. But strangely, this is all about stopping cars using it, stopping the residents going about the logical route to and from Tesco's roundabout. And as said, the traffic surveys have shown that there is no speeding problem and that the weight of traffic is perfectly what you'd expect for people going along that sort of road in the morning and the evening going home from work. So there's no real justification for going along this line of cutting off the eastern development. It's basically going to segregate the east of Shaftesbury and force people to go on a massive illogical detour round Shaftesbury, which is against their sort of general rights of freedom of movement. So the logical route is basically along Pound Lane for some traffic. And if we do end up with this part of the estate being cut off, all the estate traffic is going to have to go down Pound Lane. And that's already been blocked in the past with broken down lorries and, you know, stopping anybody leaving the estate if this other exit is made unlawful. Only last week, there was a major accident on the Christie's Lane between the Royal Chase roundabout and the Tesco roundabout. And if vehicles, including HGVs, had not used this access point and gone along Pound Lane through this restriction and down Allen Road, we would have had traffic jams all the way up to the A303 and down to Blandford and Yeovil and Salisbury. So, you know, everyone is strongly against this. You can look at the figures who objected in 2021. There was over 300 responses. 75% of people don't want this. And again, this year we had 89 objections and only 46 in support, and it wasn't widely publicised. So people don't want it. So please make sure this does go to a public inquiry and don't support it, because it is totally illogical and it's against everything that Dorset Council have said about climate emergency and everything like that. So please escalate it and don't support it.
We now move to our second speaker, Shima Vasani, resident of Shaftesbury.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Shima Vasani, and I live at number 2 Mampits Lane. So my house is actually the very first house on the other side of the bus gate. So on a personal level, my main objection, or one of my main objections, is my garage and parking space will become very difficult to access with the closure of the road. I mean, it's something that, you know, I have taken for granted that I can reverse my car into that parking space and into my garage. And with the closure of the road, I won't be able to do that very easily at all. It'll almost make my parking situation unusable. The second objection I have is that the bus gate will segregate the town of Shaftesbury. It's dividing the communities. We already have various issues with divisions within the community and arguments in the town council. And I think closing the road will cause problems between the residents and in the long term will damage social cohesion. Reducing access to a single road, i.e. Allen Road, for hundreds of residents of the Malting estate, I think will lead to resentment, frustration, and it honestly does not feel very fair. I don't believe that the proposed bus gate is the best solution. I urge people to look for alternative traffic calming measures. I'm sure there could be other options, and I mean, I don't have exact details about accidents, etc., but I don't believe there's been a huge number of problems on Pound Lane, and I think really that needs to be looked at very carefully because of the impact on the residents of the Malting estate. And putting aside whether or not another access road will ever be granted or implemented, having a single access point for hundreds of residents, I think really is not justifiable. Thank you.
Thank you, Shima. Our third speaker is Anne Taylor, and Anne speaks as a resident of Shaftesbury. Anne, you'll have 3 minutes when you start speaking.
My knowledge and experience of Shaftesbury go back to 1967, and I have lived on both sides of the bus gate in the past 4 years. I've had many people approach me with their views on this subject and have also contributed facts and observations. Jenny Daughtry informs me that in her deeds, she is given a right-of-way to all roads on the estate at all times. She cannot be the only person to have deeds to this effect. Have the legal advisors researched this? Laura Wilde points out that the building of Manpits Community Hub will require work traffic. She also speculates as to whether residents of Manpits Lane and Mead Close might start leaving their cars on the other side of the bus gate in order to save journey times, and this would cause considerable congestion and parking issues. Hazel Dorrell points out that the plan for the bus gate was made before the Chilmark Glade part of the estate was built, and therefore the original calculations are invalid. There was an incident in Christie's Lane on the 7th of November 2024, which the fire brigade attended. For at least an hour, traffic was diverted through the Maltings and over the bus gate. On this occasion, Allen Road became completely choked up and there was gridlock on the estate. This has been mentioned in at least 5 submissions to me. Mark Micarenda, who lives on Greenacre Way, says no thought has been given to the impact of this road on this road, which has a junction onto Allen Road and provides a cut-through to the traffic by the Co-op funeral home. There's no pavement in Greenacre Way for most of its length, and it is populated by many parked cars day and night. It is narrower than Allen Road. Many secondary school children use this road on their route to Shaftesbury School. It will become a major hazard zone. Jane Hay says the new community hub will have a commercial cafe, and this will possibly be unviable without passing traffic. There will be a massive increase in the traffic and at the frequently congested Royal Chase roundabout and the southern end of Christie's Lane. I say that this bus gate is socially divisive. The estate is already looked down upon by other Sharstonians. The bus gate will impose a physical barrier separating the Maltings from all parts of the town. There will consequently be economic repercussions because house prices will not rise so high as the equivalent properties on the Eastern Development. Is it right that Dorset Council values some addresses more than others? These potentially long-term economic repercussions are another important factor the proposal has not taken into account. In summary, pollution and congestion are real concerns, as is fair access. The inconvenience for the Maltings residents wanting to drive to town or go north or west out of Shaftesbury. Plans drawn up in 2007 are no longer relevant. In my view, it's unethical to dismiss them when they impact on the well-being of residents and are important to road safety.
Thank you. And I now invite Councillor Derek Beer as ward member for Shaftesbury of Dorset Council to now make his comments. Derek, you also will have 3 minutes and your time will start when you start speaking.
Thank you, Chairman. It's my duty, obviously, as ward member to bring forward comments that have been run by me. One thing I must say at the beginning is this subject has been so socially dividing for a number of years that a rapid conclusion would be very welcome and bring a bit of harmony back to that part of the town. Now, what's in place at the minute is we've got two good junctions onto the A30 which give access swiftly to Salisbury and down here to the south. What's missing is the Northern Link, which was promised to bring connections out to the A350 to go north and west. It's a very swift and easy walk into town from the centre of that development. I would suggest it's 10 minutes or a little bit less if you walk swiftly, and it's a safe walk. When the plans were put into place and the discussion went on for a long, long time, the exit through this particular area through Manpits Lane was never designed to be the route out of the development. It was never that way, and so people bought their houses on the understanding this wasn't an outward route. And you can never legislate for idiot drivers or people who don't keep within the speed limit. But people have reported to me, run by me, that because of the access the way it is, traffic runs very swiftly through, and there have been minor accidents and collisions, although thankfully no people have been injured, as I understand it. So, yes, the Northern Link should be there, absolutely. But B, the people who live on Pound Lane and thereabouts were promised that this would never be the case, and that would not be an access to out of the estate or an exit from the estate. So I have to put that because that's what people run by me, and they were promised that at a long time ago. This shouldn't be the case now. It should have the traffic restrictions should have been put in correctly at the beginning, and the fact it's rumbled on so long, it has been a bit of a disaster. But I would urge those involved to think about this very carefully, the impact on both sides. The exit onto the A30 is well engineered. There are two of them, and it doesn't mean the estate's going to be isolated. And that's my point. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Beer. So I now refer back to the officers if there are any points there you wish to clarify.
Thank you, Chair. Just to clarify that in the event of an emergency, any of the emergency services can direct people to use the bus gate without them being at risk of enforcement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just to, if I may, just pick up 3 points that were made in the public speaking, which I'd like some clarity on if you have it. One speaker spoke about a right of access, which appears allegedly in people's deeds. The same speaker spoke about a freedom of movement. I think that could be a desire. I'm not sure that legislatively that's the thing. And it was also spoken about, did Dorset Council value some properties more than others? I wonder if it's in fact that this is about an extant planning permission and subsequent condition, but maybe you could clarify that for us.
Thank you, Chair. So in respect of the deeds, that when the houses were originally purchased, they are purchased from a private developer, because at that point, the roads are still private. Therefore, the deeds grant the primary purchaser the right of access over those roads until such time as they are or become highway maintainable at public expense. Once they are highway maintainable at public expense, then the standard Traffic Management and Highway Act rules apply. So there's no detraction from the deeds. Sorry, I've forgotten your other points.
Is the application Dorset Council's planning department taking a view over value of properties of one side of Shaftesbury as opposed to another, or is it actually come about because of an extant planning permission and a subsequent condition.
So house prices are not a material consideration, but this has come about because of the extant planning permission from 2007.
Thank you very much. So members, if you have any technical questions you wish to ask of the planning officer, now is the time to do it. If you can indicate to me just that you would like to speak, then I'll switch my microphone off. Councillor Bowden.
Thank you, Chairman. I was just wondering, this is probably a bit of a vague question, but I noticed you mentioned the discussion today is to look at whether or not the traffic regulation order would go through with or without modification. Are there any modifications that could be made that would satisfy the objections, if that makes sense?
Thank you, Chair. No, sorry. But we have to give you the option in case you can think of something. Thank you.
Councillor Turk.
Thanks, Chair. This whole thing seems to stem from planning permission for the Maltings, and that wanted a bus route. That was for a bus route. In what way is this traffic restriction order assisting to get a bus route? I'm not sure I get the connection.
The conditions 33, 34 and 35 of the planning commission were multiple conditions to achieve the bus route, and as part of the bus route there was priority over buses on this narrow stretch of Manpits Lane, so it supports the access of the bus through the constrained part of the network.
Okay, so it's priority for a bus, but does that require prohibition for other traffic?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Why? Just because you give priorities to buses, how does that mean that you have to prohibit other traffic? The logic seems slightly fragile.
So as in my presentation, I included some pictures of Manpits Lane existing and at the time of the decision was issued, and it shows how narrow that section of Manpits Lane is, and it's not considered suitable for simultaneous traffic, so traffic going in both directions, using that element without restriction for the size of the development that has been permitted.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Monks. No, he was before him.
Sorry, Councillor, I think I've jumped. Councillor Craig Monks, Bedminster Ward. Possibly a technical question, not at the right stage of the process, but I'll ask it nevertheless. With regards to emergency access in emergencies, from my experience, obviously you're correct, a constable in uniform can direct vehicles through a no entry, but the reality of that happening is inconsistent. So has there been any work around assessing this change with emergencies access, negating that part, if that makes sense? Thank you.
Thank you. All of the emergency services were consulted as part of the TRO consultation. We've received no objections from any of them.
Councillor Northam.
Thank you, Chair. 2007 was when the appeal was heard, which set all these conditions in place, and I'm struggling to understand why it's taken so long to put in place a TRO. I wonder whether there's some history of TROs being put forward and previously refused. I'd like to understand why not, why it hasn't happened yet, because it's allowed, as has been said, it's allowed a certain amount of disenchantment beyond that to raise in the community on presumably many parts. As Councillor Beer has said, there's those who tend to see it as being part of what they moved into the area for, and there's also the people already in the area who are affected. So I'd like to understand what's been done since 2007 to consult with people, to tell them about what's happening, to perhaps ease this path. Thank you.
Thank you. So whilst that was when the decision was issued, it then generally takes a house builder a significant number of time to mobilise to comply with all of their planning conditions. They have to submit proposals to comply with their conditions, and I understand there was a significant amount of negotiations with the type of bus gate that would be appropriate in this location, with a considerable number of options put forward that were then deemed inappropriate for a number of safety and legal reasons. So it's unfortunate that it has taken this long. There was a previous consultation on this, which unfortunately hit some legal conundrums, and then time expired because we have to make an order within 2 years of the public consultation closing. So unfortunately that time expired, so we had to start again.
Councillor Richard Crabb.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Crabb of Sherborne West. I would just like to understand the frequency of the buses and how the bus timetables work, because this looks like it's the main justification for the bus gate and the restrictions along Manpit Lane. Thank you.
Thank you. There are 17 buses a day in each direction. Thank you.
And when are they? Do you know approximately when they come, in the morning, in the evening, sort of frequencies during the day?
They're 2 an hour, and they run from the beginning of the day to the end of the day, so they are suitable as an alternative means of travel to work.
Thank you. Do we have any other technical questions, or are members content to move into debate? Content? Okay, I open the floor. Councillor Took.
Excuse me. The Manpits Road will be narrowed to 3.6 metres as part of this exercise. What's it currently width?
The width of Manpits Lane has always been about 3.6 metres. Would you like me to open the slide again to show you?
Curious as to why it says in your report that the vehicle restriction facility will consist of a physical and localised narrowing of Manpits Road to 3.6 metres. That puts it in the future, not that it already is. So I didn't understand that bit. Could you perhaps tell me why it's like that?
Apologies. If you look at the screen, the photograph on the right is Manpits Lane prior to the development. The photograph on the left is how it looks now. Unfortunately, the leaves from last week have covered the location of the footway, but you can see in both photographs the lane is too narrow for two-way traffic.
Okay, thank you. I was slightly confused by the fact that your report seemed to say that it was going to be narrowed, not that it always was narrowed. So if I misunderstood that, my apologies. Thank you.
Councillor Crabb.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Crabb, Sherborne West. What is the feasibility of increasing the width of the lane, or is that just completely not an option?
I'm sorry, that's not an option.
you say that very definitively, that it's not an option. Why do you make that statement so definitively? Options are things that can be, the rules can be changed, things can be done. There's no such thing as not possible, really.
The land is outside of the existing highway boundary and it is not part of the development for which permission was granted.
Councillor Taylor.
I'm coming to the decision, feeling here, the fact is that there's no negotiation going on here. So therefore, is there a possibility of a negotiation to make it a two-way traffic system, which I think there is?
Sorry, councillors, as I've explained, the extent of public highway is as shown on the two photographs, and the red line of the application is along the hedgerows, so any additional land falls outside of the planning permission. So there is no scope.
Councillor Northam.
Thank you. Yes, I'd like us to go back to that 2007, where options were looked at by the inspector, by the appeal, and he determined that this bus gate was an appropriate way, and I can't remember the names of the roads, but the two other roads were the main accesses for this. This has been in the plan for a long, long time. I'm very disappointed that it's taken so long to come to fruition, causing all that frustration. And I don't think we have an option other. So what we're being asked to do is that this goes to an appeal. We're not, and that appeal will put forward Dorset Council's position, which is either we go forward with it as written, or we make a modification. And we've been told that there isn't a feasible modification that Dorset Council can make. The appeal hearing can hear from Shaftesbury Town Council, and they can make representations at that appeal. So I would suggest that we move forward with the recommendation, which is to move this forward on the basis that we put it forward without modification. Thank you. That's a proposal, I think. Yeah. Oh, done.
Councillor Borden.
Thank you. Sorry, I didn't introduce myself before. Belinda Borden, Lyme Regis in Charmouth. Yeah, I would second that suggestion. And I think that just talking about buses doesn't give the full picture, because we are in a different era, if you like, of putting pedestrian safety above the needs of car users. And I've been doing a lot of work in Lyme Regis on this, where a lot of residents feel genuinely unsafe walking along a pavement or along a road that doesn't have a pavement with the sheer volumes of traffic. So it's very much about people's safety and health and well-being, as well as presumably the bus transport. And from the looks of it, this seems the best outcome for the different options. And obviously, there's always going to be somebody who's inconvenienced, but I think that on the wider issues, I think we should go along with the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Borden. I would also make the point that at appeal, not simply Shaftesbury Town Council, but any residents will be able to make representations to that appeal and be heard. So we have a proposal and a seconder. Do we have any other proposals or amendments? No? Okay, so the proposal is to move forward with the officer recommendation. This will be a minded to decision because it will go to appeal. So those in favour, if you can show me with a... So that's the proposal without modification. Chair. Sorry.
Regardless of with or without, we just has to say we're reminded to accept it with or without, not to make a choice whether it was with or without. It was just, was it with or... Yeah.
Okay, so back to a show of hands, please, for the proposal. Those in favour? Okay. Thank you very much. So that's a minded to decision, and we look forward to the outcome of the appeal. Clerk, do we have any urgent items for today? No. And do we have any exempt business? No. Okay. So the meeting is now closed at 10:46 a.m. Thank you for everyone today, officers, members of the public, speakers. Thank you.